Evolving to resolve, it's the universal watchword for arbitration, and no less in Nigeria, where the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, there we go, is once again shedding the spotlight on the need to promote the administration and development of arbitration and alternative dispute resolution in the country. As a departure from conventional judicial adjudication, many often question how often or how effective alternative dispute resolution could be, especially in developing countries like Nigeria. And so to that effect, we have in the studio two important guests to discuss this in details. First, we have the CEO and Registrar of the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Arbitrators, and that is Shola Oshodi-John. We have him here in the studio. Oh, her in the studio, I beg your pardon. Also joining us is the Institute's Chief Operating Officer, and that's Williams Odah. Gentlemen and lady, welcome to the program. Welcome to the news. I think my first question would be, the question would be that there's always been asked is, what's the arbitration when in very simple terms? What's the word when one think about it? Let me start with you, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for this opportunity. Well, arbitration in the layman's language is having an individual coming to resolve, settle a dispute or issue or a controversy between two or more parties, and writing an award that is called a decision regarding the issues that has been tabled before him or her. So it is a mechanism that the parties put together. The parties are the one in charge of the process. That's what it is. That's what arbitration is. Well, I can also say that if you want to have a good understanding of it, you can also look at just like the way the court system runs. Right. That's how it is.
Mr. Odah, I do have to ask you, and if you don't mind me asking, why do we need arbitration?
Okay, thank you very much. Arbitration is a subset of what we call ADR. That's alternative dispute resolution. So we need arbitration as an alternative to the formal court system, to be able to help us resolve our cases. Arbitration, to a large extent, involves parties. It could be individuals, it could be organizations, and a whole lot of time, if you go to court, you discover that, your privacy is blown, but arbitration, on the other hand, is highly confidential. Privacy of the parties are maintained, and it is handled in such a way and manner, by people that have expertise in specific area, that involve parties, to the transaction.
Why isn't it so popular? Well, let's talk about that. Why are people not always going? Why do we like going through the route of taking a lawyer, going to court, years in court, as opposed to settling out of court and having arbitrators? Why is that, ma'am?
Okay, so basically, arbitration is used more in terms of commercial transactions. Okay, and if you know the history of arbitration, arbitration actually became formalized through gentlemen looking for a way or a means of resolving the dispute without going through the formal traditional court system. So that's how arbitration came about.
Right. We understand that the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Arbitrators has something coming up, something up their sleeves. Please do us the honors and tell us what that is about.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that. The Nigerian Institute of Arbitrators is 46 years old this year, and we have continued to expand the frontiers of arbitration as a dispute resolution mechanism, not only in Nigeria but beyond. NICAP, the Nigerian Institute of Arbitrators, is the first premier arbitration institute in sub-Saharan Africa. And so this year, as usual, we're having our annual conference on the 27th and 28th of November at the Civic Center. The annual conference basically is to look at arbitration from the way and the process by which it operates. We are going to be looking at this year's conference theme, strengthening institutional arbitration in Africa, charting a new path. And that is because we feel there's a need for us now to move away from just the usual, an ad hoc form of appointing arbitrators where arbitrators are appointed and there are no specific records or means of gathering data and analyzing the number of arbitration that has been done, the arbitrators, the amount, the quantum of amount involved, in addition to what kind of disputes they are. So this year we think that there's a need for us to now begin to look at the figures, come out with facts and figures that shows that arbitration indeed is thriving not only in Nigeria but in the African continent. And so when we begin to discuss numbers and specifics, then globally it will be known to all that arbitration in Nigeria and in Africa in general has moved away from what it used to be, where it used to be more or less something that was still in its infancy. We have come of age. We now have qualified and experienced arbitrators to handle both domestic and international disputes. And we believe that as we begin to gather the statistics, we will be able to showcase what we are doing in Africa and the type of disputes that we have, and be able to compete internationally with other international institutions like NICAP.
Mr. Odah, I have to ask you, what are other perks or features that are going to come up for this event? But most importantly, in 60 years, give us a picture of how far arbitration has traveled in Nigeria's dispute resolution landscape. Okay.
Increasingly, arbitration is gaining popularity and acceptance. A lot more people are beginning to buy onto arbitration in settlement of disputes. So how do we measure that? As an institute, the number we train, every year, by the time we look at empirical data, reveals that a lot of people are actually taking up arbitration. Likewise manner, if we do a comparative analysis in the last 3 years, of the number of cases reported, for our institute to handle, is on the increase. So these are empirical evidence, of the adoption and the acceptance of arbitration in Nigeria. I'm talking about the conference coming up this year. A lot is actually lined up, and we have speakers from different parts of the world who are going to be speaking during the conference. It's actually an international conference, a hybrid. We have the physical participants. We also have people, that will be participating virtually, from different parts of the world. We also have programs put in place for the youngsters, call them young arbitrators. So we have competition in place for them. So the final is going to come up, during the conference, and a whole lot more, that is going to feature for this particular year's conference.
Yeah. Interesting. Do I have to be a lawyer to be an arbitrator?
Well,
do I even need a lawyer if I have a case?
Oh, of course not. That's the beauty of arbitration. With arbitration, you can actually self-represent yourself. You don't need a lawyer.
And also cases I'd like to represent myself.
Yeah, sure. Because arbitration deals with facts and not the technicalities.
Finally, my dream to be a lawyer.
The beautiful thing about arbitration is that you can actually resolve your dispute just on documents alone, without having to appear before the arbitrator. So you see, arbitration actually is a dispute resolution mechanism that gives access to justice speedily. And I also want to say that arbitration doesn't have anything to do with law. Of course, some of the principles are drawn from the legal profession, but at the same time, we have a lot of professionals in the Nigerian Institute of Arbitrators that know lawyers, and NICAP has continued to also begin to bring in more professionals into our institute. Why? Because there are disputes in all professions. And when you want to talk about handling disputes or controversial issues that come up between parties, sometimes you need people that have the requisite expertise and skills to be able to handle the dispute. Unfortunately, when you bring some dispute before us, members of the legal profession, sometimes where it has to do with technical issues, we may not have the expertise. So we find ourselves having to bring in experts to come in and make a presentation about that dispute. But in this instance, where you have professionals from those professions, for instance, you have professionals from the oil and gas sector, and there's an oil and gas that has to do with an oil rig. You don't need a lawyer to handle it, particularly where it has to do with measurements, quantum of oil, and so on and so forth. So arbitration really is a very good dispute resolution mechanism. But we'll talk about arbitration, but we also know there's mediation. And the mediation is the one that is closest to the people,
right?
Because there was the parties to get their dispute resolved by themselves with the help of the mediator who facilitates the conversations between both parties.
Before I let you go, Mr. Odah, we're slowly getting to the election season. Do we always see arbitrators also settle things as well when it comes to electoral matters, Mr. Odah?
In Nigeria, not yet. Not yet, but hopefully maybe in the future we'll get there.
Okay, because I want to run for local government.
Yeah, absolutely.
I must say thank you for taking our time to join us. We have with us Ms. Shola Oshodi-John. She's the CEO and Registrar of the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Arbitrators, as well as Mr. Williams Odah, who's the Institute's Chief Operating Officer.